You've seen in the picture shows, I'm sure, the cowboys of our land, walking tall and carrying a gun close by their hand. Mean and tough, 'cause that's what it means in this tough world to be a man. Oh, I'll tell you about another kind of cowboy. I like to call him Cowboy Dan. Working, giving, simple living, Cowboy Dan. Never carried a gun, he didn't need one to be a man. Bring old outlaw hunger in, that was his plan. Working, giving, simple living, working, giving, cowboy, simple living, cowboy, working, giving, simple living, Cowboy Dan.
Welcome to Brethren Voices. We are in Huntingdon, Pennsylvania, overlooking the campus of Juniata College with Andy Murray, who's a songwriter, a professor, a father, and has been a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd like to talk to you about all that, and I'd like to welcome you to Brethren Voices.
Thank you.
Nice to have you, and nice to be with you.
Oh, it's
I'm saying nice to have you on the program, but we're actually in your house, so it's nice to be at your house.
I'm so happy to have you in my house. Been just very interested in what Brethren Voices is doing, and I think, I think not only what you're doing at this moment, but what you're creating is a kind of record that's going to be important for years and years and years. It's going to be the cash for the Church of the Brethren.
Thank you. We actually have found that the Brethren archives are wanting copies of the program.
Good, good.
And I'm not sure what they're going to do with them, but we have been really privileged to talk to some wonderful people in the Church of the Brethren and tell the story of what the Brethren do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you're part of that story. I actually met you in 1970, and you were pastoring a church in Portland, Oregon, which is our home church, the home church of Brethren Voices.
Right.
But I'm curious about, how did you get there? Did you grow up Brethren? Where did you go to college? How did all that happen which resulted in your coming to Peace Church?
I grew up in the Church of the Brethren. My grandfather was a free minister. My grandmother was, on my mother's side, was a Sunday school teacher, and so I have sort of deep Brethren roots in the Garst family. And then my father's mother was a crumpacker, and of course they were very active members of the church in Virginia. So yeah, the Brethren stream runs pretty deep. I went to college at Bridgewater.
And for me, I don't know where Bridgewater is. Is it?
It's in Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley.
Okay.
It's one of the 5 sister colleges with Elizabethtown and Manchester.
Is Juniata one of those sister?
Yes.
Okay.
Juniata is one of the sister colleges. Yes. And I always, when I was growing up, I wanted to be one of 2 things: a pastor or a railroad engineer.
Oh.
And we lived in the South, in Roanoke, which was the home base for one of the last operating steam lines, the Norfolk and Western, which is now, I think, Norfolk and Southern. But eventually steam disappeared, and along with that, my fascination with trains. Loved diesels, but it just wasn't the same thing. And so then I thought, well, the other thing I want to be is a pastor, which was probably where I was headed all along. I mean, I was probably headed in that direction. And after I graduated from college, I took a year off and was pastor for actually almost 2 years, pastor of the Little River Church of the Brethren in Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley, while Terry was graduating from college. And then when she graduated, we went straight out to Bethany, which at that time was in Oak Brook in Chicago.
So after graduating from Bethany and having an experience in Wenatchee, you came to Peace Church in Portland, based on a call, because they were looking for a pastor.
When I graduated from seminary, I decided that I had two criteria for a church. I wanted to go to the Northwest, and I wanted to be in a city. And that pretty much limits you to Seattle or Portland. Of course, Seattle had a pastor, but Portland was looking.
Okay.
And so I don't know whether they contacted me. I may have contacted them, or at least let the district executive know that I was interested in going to the Northwest. And that's how I got there.
Wonderful. And you were there, you came in about 1970?
1969.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's how I got to Portland. How I met you is also an interesting story. Do you mind if I tell it quickly?
Not at all. I know my version, but I haven't heard yours.
One of the reasons the church wanted me to come is they were anxious for me to work with the youth group. And when I got there, I said, okay, where's the youth group? And well, there really wasn't. We had the two Sessler girls, and
were the Eller girls? No, they weren't there.
No, but Terry Mitchell,
okay,
and her sister were, and actually Terry Mitchell was older, but her sister was younger and was in the. But we really had three girls who would come to youth meetings. So we had this idea to start a production group that would do the Christian message, but using multimedia, film and music and dance and that sort of thing. But we didn't have any youth. And Portland Church is right beside David Douglas High School.
Correct.
And I used to go and stand on the street after school each day. Yeah, sort of, it's sort of like a guy selling picture postcards or something. Say, you know, call kids over and say, listen, here's what I'm doing. Are you interested? And one of the people, I said, yeah, I actually got 3 or 4 guys that said, yeah. And one of the people I said, yeah, I'm interested in that, was your brother, David.
Really?
Yes, and David said, you know, I'm interested, but I'll tell you who would be more interested, and that's my brother, Brent. And so we called you up, and that's how you and I finally, how we got to meet.
I don't remember that. Well, of course, I probably didn't know about that. A little arrangement there.
Yeah, yeah. So you were pulled off the street.
Okay.
Indirectly.
Good. I had no idea that you were out promoting the church and the youth group there. So
Absolutely.
You could have one. In that time that you developed, was able to do quite a few things.
Absolutely. By the time I left, we had 30 active members in the youth group. But I mean, they were from all over, and we had a band, and we had some dancers, and it was a fun project. And we did
a TV show.
3 of them.
3 of them.
3 TV shows for NBC in Portland.
Amazing. Because I didn't remember any of those details. I just remember we went to the studio and we did something there.
Yeah.
And I got to see myself on television,
Yeah.
which was. You told me later that we won some kind of an award.
Yes.
Or the youth group.
The youth group won. We won an award with a Catholic group led by Father Leo Remington, who did the filming and things, and we won a Gabriel, which is a fairly important national award given by the Catholic Church. We won the award, I think, in 1971, possibly, for the best religious broadcast by an amateur group.
When you left Peace Church, you came to Juniata.
That's right.
And I don't remember exactly what you were called to do here, but I think it was campus ministries or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
How did that unfold, and how were they able to draw you away from
the Northwest?
Yes.
They drew me away because all of our family was back east. We had no family out there, and both my father and Terry's father were very ill, and so we really felt we needed to be closer home, and so they offered me the job. I turned them down once, and they held it open for a year and offered it again, and I just couldn't turn them down again. I came to be chaplain and to be a part of the religious studies faculty. But primarily my job was as chaplain. I also taught several courses each year.
And as a result of that, you became a professor of religious studies.
Well, I was hired as an instructor in religious studies, and then became an assistant professor of religious studies. At the time I was doing chaplaincy, the school had been given a small gift for peace studies, and they were looking for people who would start that program. And I got involved with the group that was starting that program, and as a result of working at that through the years, became professor of peace and conflict studies.
A full professor?
Yes.
Wow. So Juniata is a Brethren college.
Yes.
And you helped develop the peace studies program. So what is that at a college level? What does that actually involve? And what did you do as the director of that study?
Our primary focus was academic, and it was on what we called an interdisciplinary inquiry into war as a human problem. So what we wanted to do was to help our students to be more sophisticated about why people organize to kill each other, to put it in kind of blunt terms.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so we conceived of it as an interdisciplinary program, which meant that every program, every department in the college could make a significant contribution to that inquiry, to helping us become more sophisticated, to better understand the institution of war in human culture. So, for example, the geology department worked on issues related to resources, to physical resources, minerals, and so forth. We had a program, or a course called Mineral Economics, Politics, and Law, which looked at conflict on a global scale related to where resources are set. We had courses in biology, which looked at issues related to the brain and to evolution. We had courses in, of course, political science, history, sociology, anthropology. Anthropology we felt was one of the really important places for us to focus, because anthropologists dealt with the whole issue of whether or not warfare is inevitable in human experience. And have we always done this? And are there any societies, are there any cultures that don't do it? So essentially what our program did was to try to raise money and provide the kind of resources that departments would need to use some of their academic tools to help us with this inquiry into war as a human problem.
When you talk about interdisciplinary studies, were students who are primarily science or political science, were they able to take classes in the interdisciplinary field?
Absolutely. They were able to, encouraged to, and not only did students take classes, some of the classes that I would teach or that Celia Cook-Huffman would teach, but professors in those disciplines also taught classes for us as a part of our program.
Okay, great.
So we had classes in those departments that I named. We had a class in biology, had a class in physics, on nuclear weapons. And we had a class in geology that I mentioned. So yeah.
Because I think for most people, when they think about peace studies, they think, that really doesn't amount to much. But there's quite a bit involved, particularly when you study what does peace and war have to do with human society. Mm-hmm. And is it necessary? Is it inevitable? And I think that would be a whole nother program, because people have really strong opinions on both sides of that argument.
Absolutely, and of course we always were trying to work with those opinions. Our approach was to not make any assumptions And we were just as hard on peace through strength as we were also hard on peace through love. I mean, we wanted to ask questions about, you know, why do we actually do this behavior, and what are the economic, the psychological, the sociological, the political, the historical reasons, the religious reasons that humans have this behavior, which is it's a very odd behavior, isn't it? It's not found in nature any other place.
It really isn't.
Except with some ants and some species of rats. I mean, you have species that attack each other on an individual basis, but rarely ever as an organized behavior.
Okay. And you did that at Juniata for 40 years.
Yeah, just about.
And you've just retired.
I retired about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And after I retired, I actually taught with the computer people for a while.
So you're retired, but you were still working.
Teaching digital audio production, yeah, which I loved, because in digital audio production, I actually had answers. Doing religion and peace studies, you have really interesting and important questions, but you don't have any real answers. and doing computer stuff, the questions aren't all that interesting, but you do have some answers, yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can see that you actually got something to work.
Yeah, that you got something to work, exactly.
Are you working now, or what do you do with your time?
I have a small studio, and I do recording.
So we're talking about music.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's just for music, but not for me, but for other people. I do projects for other people. Right at the present, I'm working on a real interesting project for the elementary school, where their parents and so forth do a band, and we record the band in the studio, doing certain songs, and then we take that tape to the school, and the kids sing the songs with their parents playing, and then they sell the CD to their grandparents and aunts and uncles as a fundraiser. It's a lot of fun. So
wow.
Projects like that.
Music has been in your blood since early.
Yes.
I don't remember how early, but did you learn to play an instrument when you were a child?
Oh yes, as a kid I played harmonica and ukulele. And then when I was about 10 years old, I think I picked up my first guitar, and never really became proficient, but played and enjoyed playing and did enough that I could do my own music.
Because you say you didn't become proficient, but you actually have written some songs.
Well, I've made up some songs.
Okay. What's the difference? Made up and writing.
Well, I couldn't actually write down notes or anything like that. So I make up the songs. Terry writes them down. Yeah.
Who does the words?
I do.
You do the words.
Yeah.
So you're coming up with the tune and the melody and the words.
That's right.
Okay. You just don't have the technical.
I don't read music, so I can't actually say, oh, these are the notes.
And Terry not only writes music, but she plays the piano.
That's right. And organ.
And organ.
Mm-hmm. And dulcimer.
And dulcimer.
Yes. She's a wonderful dulcimer player.
I was reading in the Messenger that you just produced a CD.
Yes.
And that's from a long time ago, music from a long time ago. Is that music from the 70s?
Yes.
Oh, it is?
Yes, it's from that album. It's just, the CD is just a digital master of the original Nashville tapes that were used to make the vinyl.
Okay.
The vinyl album.
Amazing.
And after all these years, after 40 some years, people still ask, can I get the Great Botetourt Bus Truck Race, or can I get Summertime Children, or Cowboy Dan was on that album. Little John Klein, a song about John Klein, was on that album. So, and people would still write, and Terry said, we should just put it on a CD, and so that's what we did.
So, this CD, which you've just produced,
yes,
is a copy of that original album?
Of the original vinyl.
that you did in 1974, 75.
75, yes.
Hunger is so big and mean, most men simply step aside. Figure they can't take him on, so they never even try. Complexity never bothered Dan, he was a simple man. So he took out his pencil, sat right down, and figured out a simple plan. Working, giving, simple living. Cowboy Dan never carried a gun, he didn't need one to be a man. Bring old outlaw hunger in, that was his plan. Working, giving, simple living. Working, giving, cowboy, simple living, cowboy. Working, giving, simple living, Cowboy Dan. He knew there were so many people didn't have enough to eat. Figured a cow or two might help put them on their feet. He went all over this great big country to the farmers that he knew. Said, hey brothers, I've got a plan, can you spare me a cow or two? He took goats, pigs, cows and sheep, and he loaded them on a boat. And he put them on the Atlantic Ocean, and he set them out to float. They sent them to the people in Spain, didn't have enough to eat. He said, maybe my friends, you could use some goats, chicks, cows or sheep. Well, take this cow and milk it, friend, you know you don't have to pay. But on a winter's morn, when your first cow's born, would you kindly give it away? And take this chick and gather eggs, you know you don't have to pay. But take a few eggs and hatch them, raise some baby chicks and catch them and kindly give them away. Old outlaw hunger is mighty tough, we may not bring him in, but we'll surely deal him a mighty blow, he'll have to take it on the chin. And it may help a lot of hungry people sort of get back on their feet. If we keep on passing on to those goats and pigs and cows and sheep. Goats and pigs and cows and sheep. Goats and pigs and cows and sheep. Goats and pigs and cows.
This NYC will be the 40th anniversary of the first theme song for a National Youth Conference.
Okay.
And that's on this CD.
And you were talking about Summertime Children and Cowboy Dan, and they're all on here.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
The real fun in the project has been people who've written to ask for it, and then they send me wonderful notes. We put our children to sleep with this music. I'm not sure that's a great compliment, but I have at least 5 notes from people who say we love this music and we still listen to it after our children were born, and our children would go to sleep listening to music. I say, yes, some people used to go to sleep listening to my sermons too, but I guess that's another issue.
It's not uncommon.
But I get really sweet notes from people saying, my husband and I got engaged right after one of your concerts, or that sort of thing. So it brings back a lot of wonderful, wonderful memories.
I should mention that Terry is very active in music as well, and in fact, as we speak, she's playing for a retirement home, playing music, dinner music.
Yes, yeah, for the nursing home. I mean, yeah. So she does that on a weekly basis when we're here, and she does old standard jazz tunes from the 30s and 40s. And people just love it.
I would think so.
Yeah.
That's right up the alley of a lot of the people who are at that stage of their life in the home.
Yeah, and you know, nursing homes can be kind of boring places, and she has a good time doing that. She occasionally gets people up dancing with their walkers.
I like that.
Oh yeah.
Well, one of the newest things that has come your way is being nominated as a candidate for the moderator of the Church of the Brethren.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that happen? Was it a surprise? How do you feel about it?
Well, it was very much a surprise. It's not, I mean, it isn't a surprise in the sense that they, of course, ask you and you have to fill out this long thing and send it in. But I've done that for so many years, for so many different positions, and never actually made it to the ballot. So I always expect not to make it to the ballot. And so yes, actually being on the ballot was a surprise, a bit of a shock.
So when you discovered this candidacy was viable, You didn't go, oh no. You thought, oh, maybe I can offer something.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's scary.
It would be for me.
Yeah, but also something that I'm happy to do.
Andy, you mentioned working with the UN,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never really had a chance to find out what the Church of the Brethren's connection with the UN and what kind of access you've had, or has the church had, with working on these big issues of peace in the world. Can you share a little bit of that?
Mm-hmm. Well, sure. And the church actually had, I think, an official representative to the UN, Chantalal Bagat. But we don't anymore. That's one of the things that budget cuts took away. My work with the UN really didn't happen through the church. It was through other channels. I was a member of a commission formed by the Department for Disarmament Affairs in the UN and the International Association of University Presidents. And I served on that commission, which essentially helped the UN make contact with and do programs with colleges and universities. And I also was a director for 5 years of a program called the International Seminar on Arms Control and Disarmament, which was sponsored by the UN and by the International Association of University Presidents, which brought it brought instructors, professors from universities in conflicted regions to study they did an intense 2-week study on arms control and disarmament curriculum, and then finished up at the UN making a presentation and visiting some of the work that the UN was doing.
In beautiful Huntingdon, Pennsylvania, overlooking the gorgeous and very wonderful Juniata College, this is Brent Carlson.
And Andy Murray, wishing you peace.
He didn't need one to be a man. Bring old outlaw hunger in, that was his plan. Working, giving, simple living. Working, giving, cowboy, simple living, cowboy. Working, giving, simple living, Cowboy Dan. You've seen in the picture shows, I'm sure, the cowboys of our land, walking tall and carrying a gun close by their hand. Mean and tough, 'cause that's what it means in this tough world to be a man. Oh, now you know about another kind of cowboy. I like to call him cowboy, rootin' tootin' cowboy, not a highfalutin' cowboy. He was just a Dunkard plowboy, working, giving, simple living, Cowboy Dan.